this Dandelion song, and I forgot to take apart this word Tomorrowland by hand for you, and now I've kind of gotten carried away with this and made a large mess. So one thing I wanted to show you though is see this logo right here, which you can't really see anymore, but it includes the R and the W, and this makes me, for some reason it's been in my mind a lot to decode that song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat Gently Down the Stream. Well, anyway, this has the word row in it, but the very, very center of this word, as you can see on either side of this T, is the RO, which is the 33, it's the master number. So that's the 18 here, and the 15. And then there's a T in the back, which would be a 20. So you could, conceivably, since these are all on top of each other, you would add the 20 to this, and you would have 53. If you add that blue T, so you would have a 53 right here in the center. And then if you add another 18 and a 23 to this, so the 18 and the 23 is a 41. Just to get all these letters that are here in the center. Without the T though, without the T in the background, this is a 74, which is July 4th, the God number, GD. Let's write the GD right there. Okay, but if we add the T in the background, then we have a 94. So just showing you that. So that would be this. 94 reduces to a 13, and that is, the 13 would be half of the alphabet, the 1313 gate. It would be the pi cipher of the alphabet. If you're watching my menorah decodes, you will see that quite a few things are 13, and usually I am starting to see that as kind of half, an idea of half of the whole. In terms of the whole alphabet. And I think that's a collection of deities in terms of the way the Illuminati looks at it. All right, well, land equals 31. So all of this, I showed you in the last video, all of this adds up, in the simple geometry, it adds up to 168, which is the phi number. Now, this person's name is Frank, and this is kind of messy, but so F is a 6, R is an 18, and A is a 1. So again, you have your 1.618, and this is phi. Just draw the little phi symbol here. And then in the menorah gematria, that's my menorah sign, F is a 6. Sorry about my writing here. R is a 5, and so that is the 6 to 5 relationship. It's very, very important, and there's a better part of a chapter dedicated to this number, squared, cubed, raised to the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th power, and the various important correlations that it has, mostly to measurement. But it's also the relationship between phi and pi, because 6/5 times phi squared is an approximation of pi. Now, we just did a video on the Frank, and I had a brain fart. I guess I had, for some reason, I was getting confused about this. Hold on. So I guess I'm going to have to correct those mistakes. I don't think you've seen this video yet. It's probably in the lineup right now, so I'll have to catch it and fix it. Well, I wrote this wrong, but I just fixed it. So N is 14 in the simple gematria, and K is 11, and that adds to 25, and this is code for pi. So I just wanted to show you how Frank itself encodes pi twice, and phi. See, so the FRA is 1.618, here's the anagram, and then it adds to 24 here, and then plus the 1 is 25. So Fra is 25, so that is a brother, and we know how brotherhoods and, brothers are, it's kind of a religious word of belonging. So this whole part from here over encodes pi and phi at the same time, while having this ratio. So it's very interesting. It's almost like this is an encodement of the whole equation, which would be 6/5 times phi squared, approximates, this is my approximates pi. So it's almost like that equation all stuck into 3 words with dates. There's a date here. This is the 169th day of the year, 6/18. And it's also 9/18 upside down. 9/18 shows up in the beginning and the end of the first Matrix movie, and it's kind of an idea. I think it's presented as a solution to the problem kind of idea. So I'm not completely sure about that. In the menorah gematria, so I showed that up here. In the menorah gematria, N and K is a 1 and a 3. And then if you think of this as brother, and that's pi, and you think of this as Ankh, it's just kind of missing an H. And so I drew this in here, and then I realized it does make a lot of sense, because the H in the menorah gematria is a 6, and in the simple gematria is an 8, and this is the 6-8 relationship that we have seen all summer. 68 is stock, 68 is market, 68 is Morgan, stock market is 816, and it's like shorthand for phi, and it's also shorthand, I believe, for the Bride of Christ, because stock market is 816, which is the Bride of Christ number. Well, if you add this 8 to, through the simple gematria, if you add this 8 to the Ankh, you will have a 33. As a final note on that. All right, so I have all this scribbling in a layer, so I'm just going to take it down here, and we'll start with a fresh layer, so that I can show you this in the menorah gematria. Okay, so here on the right, land adds up to be 8. And this is my shorthand. I'm just going to do this. I was trying to draw, this is the menorah code, and so the way you would draw the menorah code correctly would be 3 of these little things, and then the center, and that's hard to do. So I'm just going to do this. It's not actually a trident, though. It's really a menorah. Maybe I could draw like a little 7 through it, and that would tell you that it's for sure a menorah. Well, then in the center, because this circle is important, has a T in here, the T is always the 7, and we know that in the menorah gematria, it's always the 7. Now, we know from the Freemason, they have their compass here. This is the 33 degrees, and then they have their G. The G is also a 7, and then you have your square. So it's very similar to that. But there's a 6. This little, the thing that I showed you before, it's like the atomic thing. That's the 6. So you have a 6 and a 7. So that's the spirit of 76. See that? And it's hard to tell whether this is a yellow or an orange, but we'll get into the colors a little bit later. And I think I have done orange before. Well, before we get there, over here for 2, I wanted to point out that this is, it's an idea of going from one place to another. It's like it's like a movement word. And this is the movement of the sun through the zodiac. And 72 years for it to move 1 degree through the zodiac. And in the menorah gematria, these side-by-side numbers are more important. So here you'd have a 9, right? Oh, I wrote this wrong. Okay, so 10, an 11, and a 12. Oh, I'm glad I caught that. Okay. So let's make sure I got this one right. Yeah, this looks right. So the center one here is a 16. That's important because I showed you this number in the in the simple gematria. And the way that they lay these logos out is carefully created. Well, this 16 equals a P in the simple gematria, and I interpret this to be a cursive lowercase phi, and we see this on the head of Harpocrates, Nefertiti, and many other places. So if you created this like a valence, if you thought of this like a valence, your center would be phi. Or 16, depending on the shorthand that you think it is. If you add these two together, this side of, like if this was an atom, this side would be 28. This is the days of rotation of the sun as visible from the earth on the outer part of the sun. The inner part of the sun rotates 33 days, and the outer part of the sun rotates 28 days. and we are affected by this. If you add these two outers, this is 20, and the center would be, again, 16. So we arrive back at the seed of life number through the menorah gematria. But I also want to draw your attention to this 1, 6, the 16 in the middle, and the 8 on this side, and the phi that's encoded with that. And then over here, I don't know how the 12 fits into this phi, but it could be the journey through from phi to phi squared. I won't write that out. All right, well, the other thing I wanted to explore here was the idea of the wheat. And in the movie, there are a lot of scenes where the girl, whose name I can't remember right now, she has a foot in two worlds, and she's navigating the wheat, and she's running into the physicality of the world that she left. So it's very interesting because we have the Bible's symbolism of the wheat and the tares, and there she is. To be able to get to this city, you have to go through the wheat, but you run into invisible obstacles. So I thought that was pretty apt that they use that symbolism. The other thing I wanted to say is May 22nd is the 522, and they have this 522 symbolism here with this 2, 5, 5, and 2 in the menorah gematria. It's probably also in the simple gematria too, but I didn't take a look at it. So in the menorah gematria, it looks like that it equals a 23. So this is the idea in the menorah gematria. 23 equals divine, and that does fit in with the symbolism of the wheat. I could do tares here. Well, in the simple gematria, W equals 23, and this is heat. Eat is 26. 26 equals God. I don't know. It's kind of scary that we talk about harvest, and wheat is a food, and God equals eat. So kind of like we make bread, and Jesus broke bread, and we share bread, and bread is the body of Christ, and that's made out of wheat, which equals God. Eat equals God. So equals 26. All right, well, anyway, heat, you would add H to that, so that would be 34. So heat would be high or pi twice. So it might be a synergy of pi in terms of 17 plus 17 is 34. See, because 26 plus 8 is 34. All right, then we add the wheat, the W to that, and we end up with 57, which reduces to it reduces to a 12. Excuse me. So 12 is kind of like the round table. You would have this is the sign for Ra, where you have Ra in the center, and this is the zodiac age. The 12 parts of the zodiac age of the round table of King Arthur symbolism. So heat is a very interesting concept here too. I know I'm getting off topic, but I think these are important because heat talks about from the 22nd degree, which is Ham. Then the 23rd degree is the first step in the right direction of waking up to the 32nd degree, which is the last degree before awakening, and in the long form of pi, the 31st and the 32nd digits is 50, which equals our 50th state, or our final state of Hawaii, which again brings you back to this Q, because H plus I equals Q. And then if you heat even more, thinking about this double Q, even more heating, then you end up at 33 and beyond. The 33rd place of the long form of pi, 926, on and on. After 50, there's a 2, and this equals B, and this is the pregnant Isis pregnant with the Holy Child, the Christ within. All right, so this movie is about collapsing the quantum wave and about your ability to collapse the quantum wave. Joshua talked about this. He said you will do these miracles and more. Say to the mountain, move. You know, he walked on water. If he went to a church today and walked on water and made bread and fish out of nowhere, the Christians would fall on him and tear his hair out and, stone him to death for being a sorcerer, because they do not understand. They don't actually listen to his teachings. So this movie, it is made by Disney, and I am paying attention as open-mindedly as I can to all of these symbols that we're seeing. But it does seem to be about our ability to collapse the quantum wave. We're in a quantum wave generator, and we collapse the wave. And that our ability to collapse the wave has been hijacked. And in this movie, it's hijacked by this tachyon particle emitter, and I think they call it the Matrix. And in our world, we can also call that the Matrix. But our ability to collapse the wave is actually being hijacked by our media. I'm going to draw a thought tube here. Our media. And the reason why it's a tube is because there's like a time here. This is, when media started, I guess you could say from the first books, when they first created the Bible, they edited the Bible. This is the first thing that was made for commoners. At first it was made just for priests to read, and then it was, issued to commoners. And then, then we have media here, and all of your books, and everything that you learn in school, and all of us have, like you draw like a little, like say this is the content of his brain. Everything that we have learned, seen, movies, books, schooling, we have like this much in common with everybody else. And then this much we do share with everybody else, but it's just not every single other person. But this much we do share with so many people. So we're basically in a thought tube, and this content defines how we collapse the wave, because our beliefs and our thoughts and our conditioning drive our perception. Okay, I'm not going to spell that out. Well, maybe I'll pause it. So the idea of this movie is that when he was little, he had open perception. He did not accept other people's point of view. And that's why he was chosen to be a part of this project. And then he became disenchanted with it because they didn't fill him in on the whole story. And they didn't fill him in on the whole story for a reason. And that's why you and I, we also don't know the whole story. And there's probably a reason why we don't know the whole story, because basically the whole story broke his heart. And then he became disenchanted. And then he started to see things in terms of the future is dead. Then they had to find another person who still hadn't given up. And that's the term that they use. She hasn't given up. And I can't remember the name of the little girl heroine here. But she was not only she was a powerful person, and I guess they had some kind of, it was interesting. Maybe I'll get to it. She had a score on this test. He got a 41 on this test, which is the blind number. And she got a 73. And that's why she was chosen to become a part of trying to save the world. Well, 73 is the final creation of the 3773 star matrix mirror number. So this is the 21. Sorry, no, this is the 12. 12, 21. So this is L. 21, this is U, luminous, B, luminous, and that's why we have the letter B here. See the T? There's the T, B, so that's the B, luminous, and the way you draw blue is you put the E on the other end of this. But this sort of shows you that I'm not crazy when we're doing these valence codes, because that's how they build these words. Well, anyway, she got this score, which means that she is luminous. She has the ability to collapse the wave, and she shows that she has ability from her dreaming and from the power of her heart, basically, to see a better future and cause it to happen. And plus, she's creative and a problem solver, so she basically figures out the answer. And it's kind of a hopeful movie, but I think it does draw attention to that you want to have dominion over. I'm drawing his little crown chakra here. You want to have dominion over your influences, and so if you think of your connection to heaven, and it comes in through your crown chakra, and the place, the center of your head is the pineal gland. That should be your knowing. But your seeing, I'll draw his little eyeballs right here. Your seeing will lie to you. It will tell you what has already happened, what has already been decided, but it doesn't tell you what you can create. And this is kind of the Alice in Wonderland idea. This is why Alice equals Bible, equals eagle. And, you know, the Romans worship the eagle. And her main journey in that dream is to find out who is creating the dream, and it's her. And so that's kind of what this story is about too. So you need to own your own vision, and it's very difficult for all of us to deprogram. We have to find our prejudices and basically just forgive them and release them, and then try to see them calmly. You know, in case they show up again, we have to say, oh, that's where that came from, and just forgive yourself. If you become angry with yourself or other people about that, then you're just hanging on to it harder. But you want to have your information come as purely in as possible, and then you direct your hope outwards. Now, this is why they are giving us so many doomsday messages. They are actually trying to create the apocalypse by hijacking your pineal gland, so that you will believe the apocalypse. And that's why they're telling you that it's in the Bible, and it's in the end times, and it's in the prophecy, and it's for sure going to happen because it's in the prophecy. And they're trying to cause you to accept it because you know, give your power over to, I'll put God in quotation marks here. You give your power over to God. Well, it's, you know, basically the wrong God, because it's mass religion. And the true truth is something that basically can't be, it can't be contained, it really can't be named, and probably will not be spoon-fed to you in a church. So you want to take back your ability to perceive, take back your ability to collapse the wave. And this is what Yahshua taught. He said, don't take any oaths. And he said, you will do these miracles and more. And those, you know, even the Dark Vatican, or, you know, maybe they had good guy infiltrators in the Dark Vatican that allowed some of this truth to come through in the gospel, or else they were... they have some rules that say that they have to tell you some of the truth. So for some reason, there's some truth there in the gospel, and your heart will tell you what it is and what it's not. I was just doodling right there. All right, well, that's enough for this one. Sorry this got so long, but I think these concepts are so important. You, yourself, even three of you, can change. You, especially because I think the people who watch my channel are kind of like heavyweights in the creation department. You are people who would score higher on this creative collapsing the wave ability, and that's probably why you're on my channel. So you would be heavyweights in this, and this means that and also if you have a high quotient of good, that empowers you, because usually you will create according to the common good, and that just makes you stronger. So really not, and Yahshua said, where two or three or more, two or three, I think, yeah, of you are gathered, I am there too, and you have the power of Christ within. So you can picture the best and most beautiful and most fair world for everyone, and you do have power. And I'm honored to have you listening. All right, love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.